In this video, we thought it's about time we had another classic Mini on Hubnut, and not just any Mini. This is a wooden Pickett Margrave based on the Mini Clubman, built in 1973. It is a fascinating car. We've seen it before at a show. If you remember our show from Pembrokeshire Classic Car Show 2 years ago, I think, this summer, we first encountered the car then. And we've been plotting and waiting for decent enough weather to finally take this beautiful little car for a drive. So let's talk more about what wooden Pickett is and show you around this beautiful machine. So Bill Wood and Les Pickett set up wooden Pickett after they had worked at Hooper, the famous coach builder, building the finest bodies for the likes of Rolls-Royce and Bentley. And they jumped on the craze in the 1960s of doing customized super luxury minis. Became hugely popular because of people like the Beatles. Peter Sellers had a number of very posh minis. Radford started this whole thing off. Wooden Pickett picked up the ball and ran with it right through to the late 1980s. This one dates from 1973. It's based on the square-nosed Mini Clubman that was launched in 1969. Isagonis absolutely hated it. Look what they've done to my Mini. Not amused at all. And wooden Pickett did so much work. There's beautiful deep paint. This is actually a change of colour. It was originally bright yellow, but the paint would have been to the highest standards. We've got this gorgeous little extra bumper, a nudge bar on the front, and something I like particularly is the headlamps, which are taken from the Vauxhall FD Victor, and it's shrunk down panel with them squeezed in. I think it looks absolutely superb. So you get quad lights you definitely would not have had on original Minis. We've got bonnet scoops. I'm not sure when they were added. This car has been through a few owners. We've got these delicate little spoilers on the wiper arms, but the biggest changes are probably around the side and to the back. We'll start at the front, where we have electric windows, but to ensure the mechanism all fitted, we've also got little quarter light windows. So it looks like the Australian Minis. UK Minis never had a quarter light. They were either sliding windows or the whole window went down. And we've got these little wooden Pickett escutcheons, I think they might be called. Behind that, I think that's an aftermarket add-on, but it just fits the park. We've got this lovely quarter light here, but if we come on top, a vinyl roof and an electric sunroof, the mechanism for which we're told is a little delicate, so we're probably not going to operate it. Even more work done along the back, because you'll notice some obvious Mini things are missing. There is no continual gutter rail all the way around the car, and the joint that goes all the way down here is entirely missing. It's been de-seamed. Quite a common mod on Minis in the aftermarket world for a time was completely de-seaming the car. It gives it a very different look. We've got twin fuel fillers, twin tanks. We've got the addition of a rear wiper. That was something you could specify on your wooden Pickett Mini. And here's the extra badge and Margrave. The owner has added this chrome trim around a very period correct number plate. But if I open the boots and remove my bag, which fits so very nicely in the rear, we've got this lovely carpeted boot area. Even the boot lid is carpeted, and if I lift it up and pull this out, we can see we've got a full-size spare next to the battery and all the tools as well you might need. But obviously a lot of boot space is taken up by the fact you've got twin fuel tanks. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful quality. Under the bonnet of this one, we actually find a 1310cc engine, but it would originally have just had stock running power, just a 998cc. Although actually the owner Roger tells us when he actually had the original engine looked at, it had big valve heads, so it was Downton tuned, and he reckons it wasn't too far off the pace of this 1310. I think this gives about 70 brake horsepower. So they didn't do too much under here, but I do know we've got a brake servo crammed in here, and it wouldn't normally have an ignition shield, which of course you need on a Mini, because the distributor is just down here, and the original side mounted radiator. He has recently added an oil cooler just to keep the engine happier on longer trips, but yeah, just absolutely beautiful. Naturally, the biggest changes come inside, where they went absolutely to town, turning these basically into baby Rolls Royces. We've got these incredible leather seats, huge bolsters on the side. Getting in and out is a bit of a challenge, but a beautiful Connolly leather. It's the highest quality possible. And if I hop aboard, which I'm scared to do because my feet are covered in dust, we've got this full bank of switches here. We've got the window switches here, sunroof here, rear wiper, panel, got parking lights on the outside. We'll show you all this later. We always like to do a light demo. Lights, wipers, demist, this gorgeous Motorola radio, tiny little ashtray up there. We've got an ammeter clock that actually works, oil pressure gauge, fuel and coolant temp here, lovely little rev counter. And of course, compared to a normal Mini, what you get is a full dashboard. The Clubman actually introduced dials ahead of the driver, and that stayed a Mini thing right through to the end of production. But this just takes it to another level with leather on the dashboard, beautiful wood veneer as well. There are a few additions because the owner Roger likes to use this car. So for his daughter, the obligatory cup holders are a feature now, and a free box just allows you to put little things in. We've got the fresh air vents as well with little chrome knobs. There's a glove box here for a bit of extra storage, but there's also a little cubby here in the middle as well. And the modifications run quite deep, because in order to fit these enormous seats, the rear pockets at the side of the rear seat have had to be trimmed down. But unfortunately, what we're left with is a rear seat that is, yeah, not very usable. I don't think we're going to try doing a rear seat test today. There is no space whatsoever. The seat back does actually fold down, and on some of them they had like a ski hatch through from the boot for a bit more storage. This doesn't actually have that, but you can still drop the seat back down. There just isn't really anywhere for it to go. But even the headliner is just absolutely beautiful. The attention to detail in here is quite extraordinary. Right, we should probably go for a drive, but I'm going to kick you out because you want to hear this thing start up. I will just add that the steering wheel is a later one, but it is actually one that Wooden Pickett used in their later conversions, and it feels absolutely sublime, this walnut rim. Very, very nice. The gear lob is also a more modern unit, but yeah, the view ahead is most unlike any Mini I've been in. The steering column has been lowered, and we'll find it also has high-low suspension, which is a common aftermarket item that gives you a bit more adjustability in terms of suspension. But I'm just going to try the electric window. Oh yeah, look at that. And I see we got tinted glass as well. So this is levels of luxury that Rover never quite got round to fitting to the Mini. Even the later Minis, I think you could finally specify leather or at least half leather seats, but you never got a dashboard looking this grand, even right at the end in the 1990s. We've got the opening little quarter light windows as well. Beautiful. Birmingham windscreens apparently custom made these little quarter lights. But we should probably get out on the road, because of course that's where Mini magic really shines through. Oh, beautiful. It's quite responsive. It's taken a bit of getting used to. Listen to that. Oh. Yeah, it feels like we're doing 100 miles an hour, we're doing 40. But such is Mini life. You sit so low down, but that engine sounds so seriously raughty. Reminds me back in the 80s, all Minis used to sound a bit like this. They all had sports exhausts on and custom manifolds. It was glory days indeed. No faster than this Honda Jazz, but we're having an awful lot more fun. I am so for this sort of thing, and it's annoying that manufacturers took so long to realise the potential of cars like this. They could cost a great deal of money. There was a car built in the 1980s, towards the end of the 80s, by Wooden Pickett, which had a television, and the total build cost was around £50,000. Even back then, that is a huge sum of money. Obviously, it starts getting a bit busy as we build the speed up. That's 50 miles an hour. It is only a 4-speed gearbox. And that's us at 60. But of course, this is where things get really interesting when we come to a roundabout. Hold on, dear camera lady. Because you still get the usual mini go-kart handling. So you can just pitch it into bends. And it goes round them in ways you just don't think is really possible in a car. Ooh-wee-oo, I feel just like Paddy Hopkirk. I don't think Paddy Hopkirk's minis ever had quite such luxury though. So the Wooden Pickett name still exists. Wooden Pickett themselves did leave the business, I think, back in the 1980s. But the Wooden Pickett name lives on and provides aftermarket mini parts. As well as minis, Wooden Pickett also converted Range Rovers, which were hugely popular, especially for the Arab markets. But I think it's the minis that people remember most fondly. That chance to have a lot of luxury in a package that was still so very, very small. People laugh at the Aston Martin Signet, but really, what is wrong with the idea of having a tiny little car with luxurious appointments? Nothing at all. I will say, it actually rides pretty well for a Mini. We haven't got too much of the Mini bobble going on, and that adjustable high-low suspension probably plays its part there. Yeah, it very much brings me back to my own Mini experiences. I did have one for many years, and there is just nothing quite like them. I'm determined to see if I can pull away smoothly. There we go. Oh, that's so purposeful. My little 1 litre Mini did not sound like this. Ah! It's alright, we're in a tiny thing, no problem. The driving position is still a little unusual. The seat's a little high for me. I'm just rubbing on the headliner, but that's because Roger's actually adjusted it to suit his daughter. Apparently she goes out in the Mini quite often, which is wonderful. You've got to sort of share the love of these things with the family.
And did I hear grandchildren as well?
Yeah, grandchildren as well, who used to ride in the back until ultimately they ran out of space. Roger did so much work to trace the history of this car, almost all the way back. I think he's got from the third owner onwards, who had the car for a long period of time in London, because that's where most of these luxury Minis were based. It was the perfect car for bombing around London. You didn't want a Bentley or a Rolls Royce, they're too big. Whereas a Mini, you could go nipping through all the traffic, but still have the build quality in here of a Rolls Royce, if not quite the sound deadening, I would argue. But the car was taken off the road and dismantled in about 1983 when it was only 10 years old. And sadly, it then took a very long time for it to become a car again. Oh, that noise is lovely. Don't get me wrong, I'm not sure I want to do too much motorway in it, but that's okay. We don't have motorway in this part of Wales. We just have twisty roads instead. And this is built for roads like this. Oh, you just can't beat an original Mini. By the way, we got a GPS speedo because the original one is sadly not entirely accurate. Yeah, this feels very, very special. Little baby limousine, and why not? Right. That was a lot of fun. What is less fun is getting out. If you come around this way, these seat bolsters are so enormous, but trying to squeeze out without damaging them is a bit of a challenge, but quite a nice challenge to have. Well, that was something a bit special, a super luxurious little Mini. So you got all the luxury inside, but by heck, is it still an awful lot of fun to drive. The classic Mini experience. And I must say, I love the square front Minis, even if they're not as luxurious as this one. I just love the shape, so very, very of its time, even if his agonist didn't like it very much, the man who created the Mini. But this beautiful car, huge thanks to Roger for letting me drive it. You should be able to see it at the Pembrokeshire Classic Car Show, which is going to be held here, Carew Airfield, on Saturday the 1st of June. We're hoping to get along if we can. But yeah, a true delight. So thanks Roger for letting us drive it. Thanks to you for watching, and we'll see you in a future video. Farewell.